Husna Rahman. Our firm is Fulcrum Studio, and it's a firm that was conceived out of passion and just continues to work when we are driven by the excitement and the butterflies in our belly about creating something that we envision will be worth our while. As a result of that, we worked with people who identify and correlate with that ideology, that chemistry, and that sense of fun. The space itself and how it speaks to you. Every piece of land, every sense of identity of a particular physicality of the space is unique. So you need to let go of ideas and thoughts to receive that communication. So that is the first thing that you do. The second thing is that who is the person who's going to eventually enjoy this home, and what is he expecting from this mandate and this relationship. So I think that's a very important thing, to establish that relationship of faith and trust. Pushing the boundaries is always a good idea, and how spaces really combine and envelope each other in a very Zen way. It's about how they all come together to tell a story that goes beyond languages, that goes beyond explanations, that goes beyond the physicality of 500 square feet or 10,000. It takes you into a realm that's altogether enriched. I think what they wanted was a home that reflected subliminally layers of culture. The brief essentially was to be a modern Indian who has seen the world, who has understood the nuances of the big beyond, but is deeply rooted still in a culture that they believe in and they have returned to. So their brief was pretty loose, but how we translated and transmitted that was interesting. So that is one thing we have done, which is we have created and taken that journey of creation to the minutest detail. The journey of experiencing the garden is an extremely important one, to get the depth before you see the main door and not to see the main door at the gate. Hence we have a very interesting ramp that leads up and has beautiful pergolas over it with a water body in each side. As you enter the main door, which is concealed from the road, you only go through the journey, not quite understanding the entry zone because that's the mystique, and then you enter. When you do, you have the formal living space, which is a beautiful contrast and juxtaposition of old and new. And on the right you have a dining table which doesn't conform to the rectangle of 8 by 4 or 12 by 8. It is a four-sided table, but in a very, very unusual shape. That is in a double height. So when you're standing in that space and when you look up, you actually see the private spaces. They kind of start to reveal themselves in a really unusual way. The master bedroom is located on the first floor, and from there when you look down, you have that entire expanse of the lower floor to enjoy. Amazingly cut out spaces for garden. Never again is anything straight lined and just regular, but it actually creates these carved pieces of sculpture. Then you climb the flight of steps, which is again a beautiful sculpture, very, very monolithic and solid. So as you're walking, you are not limited in your vision of seeing the space as it displays itself on the way up. When you arrive on the first floor, that's where you have your private spaces. So you have the master bedroom, which is conceived as just an open plan space where you have a bed, you have an interesting wall which conceals the jacuzzi. The brief in that bedroom was to have a study, but we didn't again want to create a wall. So we've actually created an anti-gravity wooden structure supported by the ceiling, so the floor and the light in the air just continues to run its passage through, and on the rear you will actually see a desk and table. We have created and taken that journey of creation to the minutest detail. The challenges would be structurally, because we did not want a great deal of columns and the shape being so unusual. You couldn't really have a structure that was indelicate or unthought out or in any which way unsophisticated. So it starts right at the beginning when you're sitting with your structural engineer and planning these spans. You just have to keep plowing on in that relentless pursuit and stand there, feel the heat and the dust, literally become part of the elements around you, part of the concrete and part of the brick, and just have that inner conviction that this is going to be something spectacular.